Imagine a world where a snake abandons its deadly weapon for an egg? Strange, isn't it? Before you stands a creature that evolved so peculiarly that it makes you wonder, what could be more important than self-defense in the merciless world of nature? What compelled these amazing beings to literally restructure their bodies, giving up the main advantage of their species? Let's peek into the mysterious world of unique adaptations, where each life form plays by its own rules. Nature is the greatest architect of the universe, creating masterpieces that sometimes defy logical explanation. African egg-eating snakes present a brilliant example of such an evolutionary paradox. These remarkable creatures completely rebuilt their bodies for a single purpose: to feed exclusively on eggs. Imagine this: they have almost completely eliminated their teeth, learned to separate the bones of their skull, and open their mouths incredibly wide. But most amazing of all, to extract the contents of an egg, they use special bone projections on their spine that puncture the shell. After this, the snake squeezes out the egg's contents to the last drop and spits out the empty shell. Such narrow specialization in nature is called monophagy, feeding exclusively on one type of food. But such adaptation is rarely connected with simple gastronomic preferences. Most often, it's a forced survival measure when a species is pushed out of its usual food niche and must seek alternatives. The main advantage of such specialization is maximum efficiency in obtaining and processing a specific type of food. However, a deadly danger lurks here. If the food source suddenly disappears, the species that depends on it will disappear too. Giant pandas tell us a similar story. Once they were predators with impressive bite force, but they evolved into creatures feeding predominantly on bamboo. Bamboo has one decisive advantage over traditional prey: it doesn't run away and is available nearly year-round. Nature is full of such examples of adaptation, where the necessity of survival dictates the most unexpected solutions. But it's not only living organisms that need to adapt. Even rivers change their courses over time. Look at satellite images of the Coyali River, a tributary of the Amazon, and you'll see how it shifts from one side to another, creating whimsical bends and loops. The inhabitants of these places have probably long grown accustomed to the changeability of their home. However, there are phenomena to which life on Earth has not been able to fully adapt even after millions of years. On the 21st of August 2017, a total solar eclipse was observed in the United States of America. While people watched this celestial performance with admiration, the animal world was literally going crazy. For most living creatures, behavior is closely linked to cycles of light and darkness, so the sudden disappearance of the sun causes real chaos. Imagine your confusion if a clear day suddenly turned to twilight and then became day again. Unlike us, animals cannot check social media to figure out what's happening. Instead, we observe genuine confusion. Birds gather in enormous flocks. Wild animals approach humans. Domestic animals rush to hide. Bats wake up. Spiders dismantle their webs. Monkeys point to the sky and scream. Giraffes and horses nervously run in circles. Even flowers hastily close. And only when the sun returns does the world gradually return to normal. But to influence animal behavior, one doesn't necessarily have to be a cosmic body located 149.5 million kilometers from Earth. Scientists have discovered a tiny area in a mouse's brain, consisting of just a few thousand cells, that regulates appetite. Affecting this area doesn't cause anxiety or fear. The mouse simply loses interest in food. This discovery could lead to a breakthrough in understanding and treating eating disorders in humans. When it comes to nutrition, diametrically opposed strategies exist in nature. At one pole are highly specialized species like our egg-eating snakes. At the other are omnivorous creatures capable of extracting nutrients from diverse sources. But even omnivory has its limits. For instance, most omnivorous animals cannot digest wood, despite the fact that a kilogram of wood contains 10 times more calories than the same amount of fruit or leaves. Only a few, beavers and termites, have solved the secret of digesting wood. These creatures can break down lignin, the substance that gives wood its hardness. They've also developed special jaws for mechanical wood processing. But even if wood is ground into microscopic particles, the human body still wouldn't be able to digest it. Wood's hardness is an evolutionary defense mechanism, originally directed against certain bacteria, which, nevertheless, managed to adapt to it. Humans lag behind in this evolutionary race by approximately 300 million years. Some plants have been particularly successful in the art of self-defense. Winter horsetail, growing in Eurasia and North America, is so tough that its stems can scratch glass or metal. If cattle accidentally swallow it, this can lead to internal bleeding. So a wood diet is not the best choice for dietary experiments. Alternative food sources can be extremely dangerous. In the 30s of the last century, a certain Arthur Haylock became famous for allegedly consuming items completely unsuitable for food: razor blades, light bulbs, glass bottles, and even hats. According to newspaper notes, his unusual appetite was confirmed by X-ray images. Although human gastric juice, consisting mainly of hydrochloric acid, can indeed dissolve some materials, our body requires certain nutrients for normal functioning. No metal object will provide us with the necessary vitamins and trace elements. The human organism remains surprisingly fragile. We cannot digest what serves as ordinary food for some animals. For example, vultures and other scavengers calmly eat spoiled meat without suffering from bacteria that are deadly dangerous for humans. Presumably, their gastric environment is fatal for pathogens, but the exact mechanism of this protection remains a mystery. The story of whaler James Bartley, allegedly swallowed by a sperm whale and surviving after 36 hours in the animal's stomach, is most likely an urban legend. Finding oneself in a sperm whale's stomach, a person would inevitably drown, suffocate, or be crushed by the muscular walls. However, examples of amazing endurance exist in nature. The beetle Regimbartia attenuata, finding itself in a frog's stomach, independently moves to the intestine and safely emerges through the posterior. Some snails survive journeys through the digestive systems of fish and birds, protected by their shells. Even fish eggs sometimes remain viable after passing through a bird's stomach. But the beetle became the first creature known to science that actively saves itself from a predator while inside it. Some bacteria also possess astonishing vitality. Deinococcus radiodurans, found in canned meat, survived after a year in open space, exposed to galactic and solar radiation, extreme temperature fluctuations, vacuum, and microgravity. These microorganisms didn't just survive, but created new mechanisms for repairing damaged cells. Bacteria are the first forms of life on our planet, appearing about 4.3 billion years ago. Who could have predicted then that these primitive single-celled organisms would evolve into the most complex life forms, including humans? Their inherent ability to adapt was passed on to us. Evolution never stops, which means people of the future may become completely different, taller, smarter, or even poisonous. Our genes already contain everything necessary to start producing poison. All that remains is to evolve. See you soon.